talk a little bit more about, there really isn't a separation, is there, between the gospel, the work of the local church, and working for justice? Can you talk about that connection and why that's so vital?
That connection has to be. And I go back to the words in Amos, let justice roll down like a river and righteousness as a never-failing stream. Now, if we have just justice, it gets political and it's lonely. If we have just righteousness, if we aren't careful, then we become isolated and inward. But this is the great connection. This is the nexus where power comes. It's righteousness and justice together, and it is the power of God that makes the connection and makes the change. You know, the UN, if all the world needed was influence, if it was influence and money, the United Nations could have done that a long time ago, but they can't. I was just up in New York this September with the new Sustainable Development Goals saying, we need the faith community to help us here. Well, it is the transforming power of Christ that makes that take place. So it has to be. And I believe God, we can't have one or the other. We look at in Romans, word and deed. It's word and deed together. It isn't just word or isn't just deed, but word and deed together.
Mm-hmm. Tell us, Jo Anne, with your work with World Hope, a time or a story or a season where you saw righteousness and justice side by side in an exemplary way.
I could give you many, many stories because that's what we did. But one that I think is very powerful was during the war in Sierra Leone. If you saw the movie Blood Diamonds, it was about that. And people's arms and legs were cut off and noses. I mean, it was some of the most horrendous evil that you've ever seen. And by God's grace, we were able to do a lot. And so we opened up an amputee care center. And we had prosthetics, and we even made prosthetics there, and et cetera. But it was interesting. And I later heard the word out on the street because there's some other agencies doing this, just secular agencies. And people would say, go to the World Hope Center. God is there. And so there was that spirit of the Lord that was there that somehow brought more transformation to the people, and they began to know about Jesus as they were receiving their limbs and working and so forth. And we were doing not only just limbs, but helping them for physical therapy and et cetera. One day, one of our amputees was walking down the street, and he came face to face with a man that cut off his limb, his arm. And he said, I was scared and I wanted to run, but he said, as if God put a rod right up my back. And I walked up to the man that cut off the rebel soldier that cut off my arm, put out my prosthetic arm to him, and said, before World Hope and Jesus gave me this limb, I would have sought vengeance, but today I can forgive you. And he said that soldier kept holding on to his limb. And then he looked in his face, and here was this rebel soldier, had done dastardly deeds, had tears rolling down his face, and said, I never thought I could know forgiveness.
Wow.
I think that's it coming together there.
Yeah.